Good afternoon, my friends. I thought we would do a little something. Ooh, how did we get all twisted around here? A little something different today. Ooh, let's come in a little bit. There we go. There we go. I don't think I've ever done a Hardanger stitch with me. So for those of you that like Hardanger, I am working on it's a pincushion, 6-sided pincushion, and this is the first of 6. So I have 5 more to make just like this. So I thought, since I'm going to be working on it a little bit here today, I thought, what a great time to maybe do a Hardanger stitch with me so that you folks can see a little bit in action of how I do that. This particular stitch, which I'm going to put a dove's eye in here, is in the Hardanger Book of Knowledge. Okay, sometimes it gets a little hard to pierce. Okay, so that you can, grab some stitching, grab your Hardanger, and stitch along with me. Sometimes I think, I started to think more and more of, if I'm going to be sitting here stitching anyway, why not just hit the record button and make the video while you stitch? And my cats look at me like, who are you talking to? When I sit here and I just appear to be talking to myself. Sometimes my husband will poke his head over and say, who are you talking to? Or what are you talking about? Because, we just sit here and stitch away and ramble on. But let me come this way a little bit so that I don't have to lean so much across the table. There we go. That's a little better. Okay. So like I said, I just have the wrapping to finish on this one, and then to put these double chain is what I'm going to call them. YouTube doesn't seem to like the correct name of them, so I'm not even going to mention it, nor am I going to put it in the description box. If you ask me at a later date, I will tell you the correct name of that stitch, and the name I was taught, and the name that's in Janice Love's book, but we're not going to mention that here. So I'm, as you see, putting dove's eyes in all of my outside blocks around the whole thing. These are wrapped bars. I did eyelets in all of these, and in the very center I am using, it's actually a lazy daisy stitch, but I added some extra little petals to it, and this one I just don't like, and I fussed with it and fussed with it and fussed with it, and it just, there. Oh, maybe finally I got it. Okay, that lays better. Sometimes you just gotta fuss a little bit with stitches so that they lay correctly. I am using, for this pincushion, 32 count Platinum Lugana. I just like the more delicate look. It's not going to be a huge pincushion. It's going to, like I said, it's going to be 6-sided. It will have, of course, a bottom, and it will have a lid, a top. Here I'm getting out of the frame. The center part, the outside of it, will technically be the pincushion. The inside of it, since it is not going to be very tall, I mean, it probably is only going to be, until this bows out, probably only 3 inches tall. So I'm thinking the center opening could be used as maybe an Ort container. That's my thought. But I've not made this before. I found on Etsy a pattern for it was a sunflower pincushion, and I will give her credit down in the drop box below, because it is her basic outline that I'm using, but I'm making my own pattern for the actual sides. Hers is stitched. The sides are the actual 6 sides are stitched. The sides on the inside are stitched. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put, I'm just going to use fabric, matching fabric for the inside. And the stitching is just going to be on the outside 6 panels. So yes, it's basically her pattern. However, I'm adapting it for myself. I am not selling this. I'm not reproducing this. I am strictly doing it for myself and possibly for a gift or two, but it's not something that I'm going to, I'm not going to sell. I'm not going to give it away. I mean, I'm not going to give the pattern away or anything of that sort. It's just something I'm doing for me and maybe a few friends. And I just had another thought. Would you folks like me to make one and do a giveaway? What do you think about that? Because funny story here. Funny story. When I looked at her pattern and not thinking or calculating correctly, the pattern itself calls for 25 count Lugana, and the instructions say to cut for these outside pieces 6 10 by 10 squares. So, not thinking, for the amount of, oh, this is hard to stick sometimes, for the amount of pincushions I'd like to make at 10 by 10 squares. First, you have to be, there we go. I calculated that I would need not quite, but pretty close to a yard of fabric. So I got a yard of this platinum fabric, which that's okay. I mean, I'm fine with that. But as it turns out, since I did not get 25 count, but I got 32 count, I don't need a 10 by 10 square. Not by any stretch. Okay, Karen, you got to go underneath that. There we go. Not by any stretch of the imagination do I need a full yard of fabric. Because, well, here's how it worked. My fabric is a yard wide by, I want to say it's 55 inches length. So it's the whole length of the bolt by a yard. So I believe it's 36 by 55. Okay. So I measured out what I would need, or calculated size-wise what I would need. And what I would need is a piece. Here, let me hold it up here. This big. This piece is 5 by 6. Okay? 5 inches by 6 inches. That's all the bigger this piece is. So, I laid out the fabric and had it in front of me with the 36 inches in the front, on top. And the rest of that yard was folded up yet. So I pulled off the top 36, the one layer of the 36 inches. I measured down from the salvage edge 6 inches. From that piece that was 36 by 6, I got all 6 panels and a big enough piece to do the bottom. So, if you, hold on, I dropped my thread. If you figure 36 inches, okay, wide. All I need is 6 inches deep. My piece of fabric is 55 inches deep. Divide that by 6. How many of these can I get out of that piece of fabric? A little more than 2 or 3. So, as I said, I plan on, of course, making one for myself, of course, and making a gift or two. I will have enough fabric to make one to use as a giveaway on the channel. So, would you like would you like for that to happen? Because they're really not that difficult they're not hard to make. I kept my design pretty simple. It's just the diamond, and then it's just the double cable stitching, top and bottom of the diamond, and stitching the outside here where you put it together, and cutting some mounting board and mount the pieces. And I believe you put it together much like you would put a biscorn U together. So you would pick up the stitches along the side of each piece, and just use those tiny little stitches to stitch them together. And yeah, that's not hard at all. I mean, that's something that that's kind of like that mindless thing that you can do watching TV in the evening. Sew them together. I mean, the hardest part is, or I should say the most time-consuming part, is probably making all the sides, the 6 sides. And even that doesn't take long. I mean, I did most of this in an evening. I didn't do any of it yesterday, but the day before is when I did the cutting and did the blocks and the eyelets and the outside and everything else. So yeah, they won't take, it's not like they're going to take weeks and weeks and weeks to make. They should actually go relatively quickly, or so she says and tells herself. I don't know, maybe I'm a liar pants on fire. But we're gonna try. But yes, I have plenty of fabric to make one as a giveaway. So that would be, in all honesty, that's going to be much closer to, get that out of the way. That's going to be much closer to Christmas. Yeah. Just knowing me, and till I get them done, and I get on a roll and I want to do this. And then it's like, oh, I'm tired of that. I'm getting bored. I'm tired of that. I want to do something else. So yeah, I would say it's going to be closer to Christmas time until that would happen, but it is an option if you folks are interested in one as a giveaway. And it wouldn't necessarily have to be blue. I'm trying to use up things that I have, stash that I have, versus buying new, more. I don't need more thread. Good God. Now, I will say that my stash of pearl cotton is a little limited. But I have a few colors that would go really nice on this platinum. And I'm thinking of doing some in this green. Now this is an anchor thread, but that's okay. But that green would look very nice on this fabric. And I also have, this is again an anchor, but I also have this pinkish color, which is very nice. So, that at least will give some variety to not be so bored with what I'm doing. At least I can do some different colors. In fact, my thought is to cut more of the pieces, the sides, and when I get tired of blue, I can work on some in another color, and variety. Have a little variety. So, and maybe I will even come up with another design to put in here. Maybe some would have, instead of around the outside here being cut and dove's eyes, maybe the inside would, like, maybe this area would be cut and this area would not. So, there's so many things. Maybe there would be some that would just have a design done in satin stitch motifs. That would be another option. Like I just did, and in fact it should soon be done uploading. I just did a video on how to do ships and stars. So maybe a panel or some panels would have that on it as opposed to cut work, which is also an option. And now I'm thinking about that, and even this one could have 3 panels that have open work on them, and 3 panels that maybe have more solid stitching on them. So there's so many options, and it's all whatever you come up with. I mean, really, it's all based on geometrics. So whatever you come up with is something that can legitimately be done. I didn't have a pattern for what I'm doing here. I just kind of, oh yeah, well, let's try that. That looks good. You make it up as you go. And if you remember the video I did on the Hardanger pieces that I have done in the past, yes, a lot of them were patterns out of books from Nordic Needle, or even other, mostly Nordic Needle books. But there was at least one that I just used the basic shape from the pattern, and all the filling I came up with myself. It was like, oh yeah, I think I'll do this here, or I'll do this there, and oh yeah, that might look good, or let's put a star and some other surface stitching in this one. Oh well, let's cut this one and do some needle weaving, or that's really all it is. So I mean, I also posted a video on how I do come up with maybe what I want to put in a particular spot or in a particular area. And I think the video actually was showing how I came up with this design, and I think I may have even altered it from what oh, Karen, you didn't want to do that. You're not paying attention. You don't have all 3 bars wrapped. Pay attention here. Okay, I think I will. Yeah, so, you can go back and watch those, and it'll at least give you an idea of how to kind of sketch out what you want to do so that you can be sure that it's going to fit within the area that you want to fill. Doing that avoids stitching and taking it out, and stitching and taking it out, and stitching and taking it out, which I've also done in the past. Like, oh, well, no, that's a little off. Oh, I miscounted there, so that's not going to work. Or, graph paper is your friend. And you don't even have to draw over 4 squares of the graph paper. You don't have to draw 5 satin stitches. When I do it, I use the blocks as 4 fabric threads. And for the cluster blocks, sometimes what I'll do is, if this is the block, I'll just put a line this way to say that block goes that direction. And then the next one, I'll put the line this way saying this block goes this direction, and just use the blocks to get a basic shape, because that's really all you need. Because each cluster block is 5 satin stitches over 4 threads of fabric. So if you just take the block on your graph paper and note it as this is a cluster block, that you should automatically know that is 5 satin stitches over 4 threads of fabric. And you can calculate your fabric size from that also by just counting those blocks and multiplying it by 4, and that's how many fabric threads you need to make that design. That is the cool thing about this. It is really one of the simplest embroideries that makes the most delicate looking, beautiful things. And no one should be scared of it, because it is just so simple. It's just that you are taking multiple simple things and putting them together, and then it looks like something that's so complicated, and yet it's so easy. So very, very easy. And I think I just have 3 more bars here to wrap. And then a little bit of double chain stitch to do, and I will be done with block number 1. Okay, so let me know, would you folks like more Hardanger stitch with me's instead of all cross stitch with me's? I mean, watching me stitch this probably is kind of boring because at this point it's just wrapping bars. But my thought is, it is another way for you to observe how it's done. And I will say I wrap my bars a bit differently than maybe some of the books say or some other people do. Many other people wrap theirs where I'm going down in between. A lot of people wrap them where they're coming up in between. What that does is it changes when it comes to not so much dove's eyes. Oh, I'm on my last one. Oh, phooey. See, I got to talking again and I forgot to put the dove's eye in. But what that does is it changes how you do those dove's eyes, for example. Because the method that I use, I mean, not the dove's eye, but it changes how you do a picot. Because the method I use, you have to go down in the center in order to wrap your needle the way that I wrap my needle and make that picot. Where people that come up in the center wrap theirs just a bit, wrap their needle a bit differently. And to be honest, I have a hard time doing it that way, mainly because this is the way I was taught, and I've had no need to change the way I've done it. So, and this is the way that the stitch gets the nicest for me. So I don't, you know the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I just keep on keeping on. So now I just have this one last bar to wrap and one more little eye to put in. And this part will be done. And then we can do a little bit of the double chain. I'll get started on that. See, I get so carried away with wrapping that I forget, oh, wait, hold on. Hold the phone. You gotta put a little bit of decoration in here. Now, the other thing I could do on some of these 6 panels for this particular pincushion, I could alter the design on all 6 panels, but I could also alter the filling stitch. So maybe instead of putting dove's eyes in all of these, maybe I would not put the eyelets, and then in this side do what they call spider webs. So that's another option. That's why it's nice to know some of the different stitches so that you have some options in what you use to fill in. Okay, so now we're just going to end this off. And as before, do this locking stitch to end the threads. And normally I would be a bit more fussy with the back, but I know that this is going to be hidden and nobody's going to see it. So these scissors need sharpened. Ay. The tips are not sharp anymore because I do have oh, I see what that is. This little thread is because I started my thread by laying it alongside of the bar. So I can just trim that off now. Okay. So now all we have to do is this stitch up here, and I'll get started on that, and then we'll, I won't bore you with it. And again, this is a really, really easy stitch. But again, it's the simple stitches put together to make something very wonderful. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it's out. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it's out 4, so I'm going to start here. And that's going to line up. Okay, so you can double check. All right, so I'm going to make an away thread here, and I'll work that in later. So I want this to start, it's even with this block. It's even with this block, which if I go across is even with this block, is even with this and that block. So again, you want to double check that things line up the way that they should. So we're going to go one. Wait, do I have to turn it this way? Maybe. Hold on. There. So I'm going to start here. Again, I always sometimes get myself discombobulated. Here we go. And my fabric is not quite as loose as it should be in this hoop. So here we go. Okay, so and this is another easy stitch, and there is a video on this one. So this will take no time at all. That is, if this thing doesn't always get in the way. Okay, so, alrighty, I didn't want this to be a real long one. Okay, let me know if you would like more Hardanger stitch with me's, and we will do that. Can watch me go through the process of finishing these pincushions. And once I get all the panels made, I'll do a video on assembling it. And if you'd like to see one of the pincushions as a giveaway, do let me know that also. So with that, my friends, I think we will call it a day for now. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And I will see you the next time. And always remember, there's no rules in cross stitch, only the ones you make for yourself. And never say never. So see you next time. Bye-bye for now.